Good evening. I have corrected it on Milan. So actually there was a printing mistake, sorry, typing mistake. Actually initially I wanted to give you sum of two numbers, but then I saw that it will be very easy for you guys. So I changed the question. Might be due to some, typing error. It was there. So now I have corrected it. So you can see the updated question. It is there in Google Drive. So you can see it. Okay, so today we'll start with object oriented programming. So because object oriented programming, I think we are in a position to finish the syllabus. I think by next week you can say we'll finish it. Okay, then after that you can practice, go on practicing the programs. So after your virtual functions, I don't think many things are remaining. Only your this error handling will be there, and IO. So these are the major things which need to be studied. So almost you will cover up say 90 to 95% of your syllabus. Okay, then we will focus solely on computer architecture. So how many of you are here, or you can say how many of you are attending the stream right now? Only four of you. What about others? See, please ask your friends to attend the streams, because, or at least watch the videos, because see, at the end, what will happen is all of you will be appearing your exams, and if you are not able to answer, you won't get marks. Okay, so it is essential. See, I know there is problem now. We have got some limited capabilities also now, so you have to also take these things into account. Say at least we are trying so that you are able to understand the subjects. So now if you don't give efforts, or if you guys do not concentrate, then all these things becomes useless. So it is very essential that at least, you can say majority of your class members attend. I know some of them are not having internet access and this kind of things, but yes, they can at least watch the videos later on. See, every day, I don't think it is required to. Previously, okay, it was not having a permanent link, but now it is having a permanent link. So every time I come, means I go for this live session, the link is always there. The link is not changing, right? So I don't think it is required to share it always, or at least by now you should be accustomed to this, how to find the link and this kind of things. Even I think a message comes up from Google, right? In your email, if you have subscribed it, so a message comes up or an email comes up which states that this live stream is going on, and also the timings are also given beforehand. So at least you should be prepared during that particular time. Okay, then we'll start. So today we'll continue with object oriented programming. So in the previous class we saw pointers to functions. Okay, so this was the basic syntax: data type followed by, so this data type will actually be the return type of that particular function, followed by name of the function pointer that you want, so that should be in parentheses, and again it should be followed by the arguments that the function is going to accept. Okay, so this is the syntax in these things. Pointers to object, it is not anything new. So same straight away concept like your normal pointers. What you have got this class name. Say if I have this particular thing, item x, so item is my class name, x is the object, right? So I can declare a pointer itpt object. Okay, so there is nothing new here. See, if you guys, there is this buffering problem, select a suitable type, lowest, either it can be, so you have pointed to object. Okay, now is it okay? Okay, actually I have reduced the bitrate now. So previously we were studying pointers to function, right? So we have seen the type, how it works. Next comes pointers to object. So here whatever is the class name, you create a pointer of that type, right? So just like in C you have done intx, then int star a. So same here, item here is the class name, and you have created an object x, and then again you have created a pointer itptr which is of type item. So same thing, there is nothing new. So next what you are doing is you can assign pointers to the address of individual object. So how you can do that? Say if you have declared a object x, and if you have declared a pointer star ptr, so you can directly assign this as star ptr is equal to n% x. Okay, so it is there. So the pointer is initialized with the address of x. Okay, now what you can do is so previously how were you accessing the data members or member function within a class? Say x followed by dot operator and the function name. So same thing you can access with the help of this arrow operator. Okay, like, but remember you can use the arrow operator with pointer. Okay, so this is the object pointer here, ptr arrow get data is the function, again ptr arrow show, so show is also the function here. Okay, so you can access the member function with the help of pointers or the object pointer. Okay, with the help of this arrow operator. So same thing also can be done with the help of dot operator. Now you have to remember one thing, that whenever you are using dot operator you have to specify the pointer, means star ptr inside parenthesis. Why? Because the precedence of dot operator is higher than the indirection operator star. Okay, so for this reason whenever you want to use this dot operator you always have to specify parenthesis. Okay, so this is one of the constraints which you have to remember while implementing pointers of objects. Okay, so next here they have just given this particular example. So here what they have done is they have created as far as I can see that they have created an array of objects. Okay, so here what they have done is int star p is equal to new item size. Okay, so with the help of this new operator they are assigning some memory to this I mean, or trying to allocate memory to this particular class. So next what you can do is just a second. So I have to reduce the bitrate more. Okay, now is it okay? So what they have done is item star p is equal to new item size. Okay, now again see here, whenever you are trying to assign pointers to uh, say to an array of objects, the pointer will be initialized to the starting address of that particular array. So you need to preserve this particular address, right? So what they have done, item start d is equal to p. So they are just trying to preserve this starting address here. The second line here you can see that they are trying to preserve the address. So item start p is equal to new item size, means they have created an array of this objects. Now item start d is equal to p means they are trying to assign the or stored the starting address of this particular array. So next what they have done, they have just given for I is equal to 0 I less than size p get data p plus plus. So I hope in the previous class we saw that you can go for arithmetic operations with pointers. So they are just incrementing the pointer. Okay, so again they have gone for a for loop here. For I is equal to 0, I less than I plus plus, they are just calling the show function of those particular objects, and they are incrementing the pointers here. Okay, so array of pointers to object. So this is also same thing. So here what you will do, you will create array of pointers. Previously where you were, what were you doing, you were creating arrays of objects. Now you are creating arrays of pointers. So it is to an extent the same thing only. So here they are maintaining, they are using the string operations. So they have used pointers to point to the particular say string that they want to store. So you can just go through this particular example and see. So just see it once, go through the function, whatever is defined here, and if you have doubt, please ask. So just go through the entire program. So here if you see the program closely, what they were doing, they were creating arrays of pointers and assigning individual objects to this arrays, right? So cptr n is equal to new, city new is the keyword here, and city is the class name. So they are assigning new objects to the array of pointers. Okay, and after this what they have done, they have just I think gone for this display here while option cout slash n for as equal to 1 cptr I print name. So whatever whatever is the object, so they are trying to access the respective member function of that object. So individual members of this array of pointers, they all will point to some object. So within that object, this particular member function will be called and it will be printed. So is it clear? Any doubts? Okay, then we'll move to the next topic. So next topic, there is something known as this pointer. Okay, so C++ uses a unique keyword called this to represent an object that invokes a member function. Okay, so remember, this is a this is an implicit pointer. Okay, so whatever member function uh, a particular object is calling, so this pointer will always point to that. Okay, so for this reason only it is named as this pointer. So whatever is the current object that you are or the program is executing, so if it is calling that particular uh, member function within the object, so this pointer will be called. So C++ uses a unique keyword called this to represent an object that invokes a member function. This is a pointer that points to the object from which this function was called. Okay, so where does this pointer point to? It points to the object from where an individual member function is called. Okay, so for in this example, say a dot max. So a is the object, max is the member function, right? So by default this pointer will point to a. Why? Because a is invoking that particular member function. Okay, so this unique pointer is automatically passed to a member function when it is called. The pointer, this acts as an implicit argument to all the member functions. Okay, so oh, means what? It is automatically passed to the member function, but what is the, or why basically we don't use it, right? Because C supports one more, or this you can access the individual private data members whatever are present with the help of equal to or any sort of this operator, right? So for this reason we don't use this pointer that often. Okay, so if you see here, class ABC, the example that they have given, int a, the private variable a can be used directly inside a member function like a is equal to 123. We can also use the following statements to do the same job. This arrow operator a is equal to 123. Since C++ permits the use of shorthand form a is equal to 123, we have not been using the pointer this explicitly so far. Okay, so we have been implicitly using the this pointer when overloading the operators using member function. So previously I think we have taken up one example while going or representing the member functions with which are having objects as argument. So I think it was used, if you remember. Now you can see your class copies, you will find the example. Okay, so here if you see this particular segment, person and person followed by scope resolution operator greater person and person x. Okay, so if x dot age is greater than age, return x, else return start this. Okay, so what are these statements specifying over here? Here there is a member function which is say somewhere in a class named person, and it has to return person as the output parameter, right? So what have they done? They have used this particular this pointer over here. How they have used one parameter, say person, and person x is explicitly passed to the function, whereas other one you can implicitly use. Why you can implicitly use? Because it is the member function, sorry, it is a member function and all the data members will be present implicitly, so you don't need to pass it uh, to the member function. So if you see here, if x dot age, so x is getting passed, so it will access x dot age if it is greater than age. So age is the data member inside the class, so return x. Okay, so it will return this particular object which is my x, else what it is going to return start this. Okay, so this, it will actually return an object. Why? Because this always points to the object which is invoking the member function. So suppose we invoke this function by the call max is equal to a dot greater b. So here a is the object which is calling the function greater, and b is being passed as an argument to the function. Okay, so here you will see that they have just elaborated it. So hash include iostream, hash include cstring, class person. So next what they have done, so this person name and everything. So person and person greater, sorry, person and person followed by scope resolution operator greater person x. So this is the thing. Next, void display void. So they are uh, I mean this is only to display the value. So if you see here in main what they have done, person p1, so they are passing this uh, parameters. So these are basically the, or they are calling the constructors here. So how many objects are created here? P1, P2, P3. Okay, so these are three objects of class person. Now person P, they have again created one more object which is my P1 dot greater P3. Okay, so P1 is the object which will call the member function greater with argument P3 which is an object. Okay, so cout elder person P dot display again P is equal to P1 dot greater P2 elder person. So this basically returns whoever is elder, so it will return that particular result. So is this application clear how they why or where we can use the this pointer? So is the context clear? So what is your see see this pointer, where does it point first of all? See, first of all, this pointer always points to the object, yes, to the current called object. So whatever is the current calling object, so this pointer will always point there. Okay, now I think it's because the term is a bit confusing, so I think you are getting confused. So this pointer THIS, this pointer will always point to the object which is being invoked by a function or whatever it is. Okay, so here they have given an example application where they are trying to show you that this pointer is explicitly pointing to the object which is calling that particular function. So where is the application here? The application is we are passing, or you can see that example also, it is, you will find it in your copies. So whenever you are passing objects to member function, I hope you remember that in one case you were passing or we have done this sort of examples, right, where we are passing objects to member function, and one way was passing like this implicitly, other was using friend functions. Okay, so what happens here, if you see max is equal to a dot greater b, so here max will be of type person only. So okay, let's forget this part. We'll see with respect to the program. So in the program we have defined a class called person. I think it is clear, there should not be any problem here. So after this, what they have done, they have created a constructor person car star as float. So these are only to initialize the object. Okay, next person and person, then scope resolution operator greater person and person x. So what this is trying to tell you is it will return an object, okay, which will be of type person. Okay, so now this what is the name of the function that you are declaring here? It is greater. So greater is again accepting one more argument which is also of type object, so person and person x. Okay, so if you see here, x is having two data members, one is name, other is your age. So if x is passed over here, x dot age is greater than equal to age. Now what will this particular age refer to? It will refer to the age, it will refer to the data member of the implicit object, means whatever is calling that particular member function, it will refer there. Okay, so it will return x, means it has to return this entire object, else return start this. So whenever you give this particular statement return start this, so what is it going to return? It is also going to return an object, but is because you have used start this, so whatever is the object which is invoking the member function, it is returning that. So the concept is, it will whenever you are using this pointer, it will always point to the object which is invoking the particular member function or whatever is there. Next we have got void display. Now if you come up over here, you will see that person p1, it is initialized with these values John and 37.5, p2 with something else, p3 with something else. Now person p, here they are creating one more object which is p, so p1 dot greater p3. So p1 is invoking the member function greater with p3 as the argument. Okay, so if you go to this particular code, what it will check? It will check p2 and p3 and p1. So what is p x here? X here is your p3 and p1 is already there, so it will compare p3 dot age with p1 dot age. So if this is greater, so it is going to return p3, else whenever you give return this, it is going to return p1. Why? Because this is pointing to p1. Okay, why? Because p1 has invoked the member function. So cout elder person p dot display, so it will give you some value, whatever is greater out of the two, it will give it. Again p is equal to p1 dot greater p2. Now you are again invoking or calling the greater member, the member function named greater with p2 as the input argument. So here whenever it is returning start this, so it is pointing to p1 again. Okay, so this is basically the concept, means this will always point to the object which is invoking or getting invoked in the member function. So it has been given here only the okay, one important application of the pointer this is to return the object it points to. So concept is simple only. Just try to go through the program once and relate it. Is it clear now or still any more doubts? Just try to relate it with the program. So this pointer will always point to the current object. So just remember this statement. So whatever is invoking the member function or whatever is being called, so this will always point there. Means basically it is context dependent. So if the object is changing, the reference of these will also change with respect to the program. So any more doubts? घर बच्चे मोबाइल लेके भाग गए थे. Okay, just try to relate it. Okay, see this pointer will always point to the object which is being invoked or which is getting say executed, whatever you want to say. So if you see here, one more important application of the pointer this is to return the object it points to. So in context of this program, if you see here, p1 dot greater p3, so p1 is actually calling this particular member function, right? So this will point to p1. Okay, now if you see here again, p1 dot greater p2, in this case also p1 is actually invoking the member function. So with respect to the context of the program, this is going to point to p1. Now in place of p1, if it had been p2 dot greater p3, at that time what will be the value of this? It will be p2. Okay, why? Because now p2 will have invoked the member function. Okay, so let's move on to one more topic, pointers to derived class. Now you can also declare pointers for base class and derived class. Okay, now here they have given an example. What they are doing is, for example, B is a base class and D is a derived class from B. Then a pointer declared as a pointer to B can also be a pointer to D. Means if you are defining a base class pointer, it can point to both B and also any derived class objects. Okay, so here if you see, B star CPTR means you have created a pointer for base class. Now next, B you have created an object, D also you have created an object for your derived class. So B and D are the objects, so CPTR is equal to n% B will actually point to the base class. Okay, means objects of base class. Now you can use the same pointer, base class pointer, to point to the object D. Now you might have this because B and D will be different classes, but still we can do that. Okay, so this is permitted here, but there is a problem. Okay, so whenever you are using a base class pointer to point to a derived class object, at that time that pointer will be able to point only those members of D which are inherited from B and not the members which belong to D. Okay, so let's try to collect it once again. Whenever you will create a base class pointer, okay, or will use a base class pointer to point to a derived class object, at that time it can access only those members which are inherited from base class. It cannot point to any other members which have been included in your derived class. Okay, so whatever has been inherited, you can only point there. You cannot point to the members which are explicitly present in D, means they are not present in your base class but they are present in your derived class, so you cannot point to those particular members. Is it clear what is the limitation for using this base class pointer? So what we can do straight away, we can use a derived class pointer to point to the derived class, right? So here if you see the example what they have given, class BC public INTB void show cout, then class DC it is deriving from BC. Actually this naming conventions are very bad here. DC BC, okay, so DC is the derived class which is inheriting from BC. So again it has got INTD void show. Okay, so what were the data members and member function? It was B and show in your base class. And what are the members in your derived class? It is again D and show. So your derived class will contain two data members, or ideally it should contain two data members and two member functions, which are B, D and show. Okay, now see here what happens. BC star BPTR BC base. Okay, so they have created this object base. So BPTR is equal to n% base. So this is base pointer. Then they are assigning values here. BPTR B 100 cout. Then they are calling the show function, which is my member function. Now derived class BPTR is equal to n% derived. Okay, so this is the address of derived class. So if you see here they have created this object derived, so they have assigned it. So BPTR B is equal to 200, so and BPTR D is equal to 300. So if you see here they have given a comment, so this won't work. Why? Because your actually BPTR is a base class or a pointer to your base class, so this statement won't work. So BPTR now points to derived object. Okay, so actually they shouldn't have given this particular statement here. If it is not working, why to give it? So you can access this. If they would have given directly the show function, so show can be accessed because it is there in the derived class and it is also getting inherited. So DPTR, they have defined this derived class pointer and they have assigned the whatever is the content. So dptr show cout using the derived class pointer. So they have assigned a value here 400 and they have called the show function. Now here actually there will be a problem. Okay, so we have used the statement bptr show two times. First when bptr points to the base object, and the second when bptr is made to point to the derived object. So here if you see here bptr show once and bptr show twice. Here they have used the base class pointer only to point to the both base class objects and derived class objects. Now, but both the times it executed bc show function and displayed the content of base object. However, the statement dptr show displays the content of derived object. So this shows that although a base pointer can be made to point to any number of derived objects, it cannot directly access the members defined by the derived class. So here actually what problem has occurred, I'll tell you that although you are pointing or making this base class pointer to point to the derived class object, still show function, it is having same names in both derived and base class. So at that particular point of time it is going to show you the or call the show function from the base class. I will repeat it again. See, in this particular example you have used the base class pointer to point to both base class objects and derived class objects, but whenever you call the individual show functions, it is going to call the show function from base class. So this is actually the problem with this sort of pointers for derived classes. It actually cannot resolve the names properly, and it will show you the or call the member function from base class, provided it has got the same function name. So what is the reason? It actually cannot directly access the members defined by a derived class. So I was telling previously, so is the stream okay now? Okay, so what was the context of this particular example? It is that even though, although you can use a base class pointer to point to a derived class, still it cannot access the members which have been explicitly defined in the derived class. So if you see the example, show function is there in both the base and derived classes, but show function has again been defined in the derived class. So for this reason it cannot access any members which have been explicitly defined in the derived class, even though it is having the same function name as the base class member function. Okay, so it is a problem here. So is this part clear? So if you are having any doubts, please ask. Okay, then if the connection is buffering too much, then we'll start uh, the. Okay, then up till okay, then we'll move to your computer organization and architecture, because many of you are complaining that this it is buffering too much. So we'll start virtual functions in the next class. So computer organization, I also won't take much today. We'll see this particular thing, program execution. It is from this Shiva Sajan G Shiva PDF. I have already shared it in your Google Drive. So I think this PDF is actually a bit easier to follow. So we won't go much. Only I'll try to start with this particular page. Yesterday we were discussing about instructions, right? Instruction set, what are the criterias for classifying or this grouping the instructions. Okay, so we have seen based on the number of operands, then based on the addressing modes, we can actually group the individual instructions. So all of you have done this 8085 programming, right? So you are first writing the code, and then you are loading it up in your memory. Sorry, yeah, you are basically writing the program and it is getting loaded up in memory, and then it is executing one after another, right? So the execution of an instruction consists of two phases. First is your instruction fetch, and second is your instruction execution. So what happens actually in instruction fetch? I think we have previously in your class, I remember I have given one slide which is having the structure of CPU, okay, where this MAR, MBR and this PC were defined. Okay, so what happens actually when we execute an instruction, we'll try to see. So during instruction fetch, the instruction what is transferred from memory into instruction register. Okay, to accomplish this, the contents of program counter are first transferred into the MAR. MAR stands for memory address register. So if you remember, program counter is storing the address, right, of the next instruction which has to be executed. So what happens, this page number is 268. So when you execute an instruction, yes, basically I am yes, it is 268 only, this particular page. This one is 267. So just try to follow. So whenever you are executing an instruction, first what happens, the contents of program counter are transferred into your if you are asking, it is 268 actually. So first the contents of program counter are transferred to memory address register. So a memory read operation is performed to transfer the instruction into the MBR. MBR stands for memory buffer register. Means what? Whatever data is coming up from memory, it will be stored in this MBR. Okay. So first you give the address. So what happens? A read operation is performed. Okay. So the contents whatever is there, it will be transferred to MBR. Okay. Then and the instruction is then transferred to IR. So whatever is the instruction from there, it will be transferred to your instruction register. While memory is being read, the control unit uses its internal logic to add 1 to the contents of program counter, so that the program counter points to the memory word following the one from which the current instruction is fetched. Okay. Okay, then we will continue. If the line is not um, if it is not okay, then okay, we'll continue these things in the next class. Okay. Okay, then next class, when should be the next class? Okay, then tomorrow 8:30 we will again continue from wherever we ended or covered up till today. Okay, then thank you very much. Okay, then we'll continue from the part we finished today. Okay, then I will end the stream now. Thank you.